Hey, everybody, and welcome to Masterpiece Theater. As always, I'm your host, Chuck, and today we're taking a look at the latest release in the Takara Masterpiece line, and that is Masterpiece 47 Hound. Now, a lot of people have already complained that this figure has a breakage out of the packaging and are breaking it while handling it. Well, as you'll see in the review, at least I hope you'll see, that some care needs to be shown. But if you take your time and follow the instructions, including the ones in the supplemental, which I mentioned in the review, it's really not that bad, and it's kind of a cool figure. It's interesting the accessories that they include with Hound, as I mentioned later on, tend to be very episode focused. For those of you who weren't around back then, Hound was originally positioned to be the human-friendly, human avatar type character before they put Bumblebee in that position. In the first 5-episode miniseries, he's really, in those early episodes, he's prowling around with Spike and stuff like that. And that's why, to a lot of people, Hound is a well-remembered character. But enough of that. Let's start off taking a look at the accessories, and then we'll go into the transformation. Okay, so here are some of the included accessories with Hound. Starting off, you do have two interchangeable faceplates. I did already change one of them out, so the one on the left is the original. You have the key from that one episode of the original cartoon where they had Ravage as a prisoner. You have two replacement side view mirrors, just in case something happens to the ones installed on the figure. You have his handgun, which can disassemble into two pieces and be stored in robot mode, which is a little disappointing. You can't store it in vehicle mode. You do have a blast effect, which I do like the fact that Takara has started including those. That is actually, I really shouldn't say blast effect, it's a hologram effect for his hologram gun, which is the handgun. And then you have a new Spike figure, which is to scale and sit in the Jeep mode of Hound, and a hologram projection of Spike. So you can have some fun there. And then finally, you have a canopy piece, which again is for one particular episode of the cartoon where Hound was used it, and it can also double as a shield and accessory storage. Now, if you notice, there are 3 other accessories that are missing. That's because they are already installed on Hound and are part of the transformation, which we're going to get to right now. Okay, and as we were discussing the final 3 accessories, they are this gun for Jeep mode, which I also believe to be another hologram weapon, this spare tire and gas tank that are on the back. They do peg in and can be left on during transformation. Well, which we're going to start right now. If you don't already, bring this shoulder gun into a neutral position. Now, I should mention a lot of the joints on that are tight, and because of that, it will have a tendency to fall off. I've had the gas tank and the spare tire fall off, but that was during the first couple transformations. I think it's kind of either my hands have gotten used to it, or they've kind of broken in. Also, what's going to be interesting about the transformation is from the seat here, these 2 seats, the base part of the seat forward, that's going to be the arms, head, and upper torso, whereas the recliner portion of the seat and this bay area are going to become the feet, with the legs being part of this undercarriage here. A lot of interesting things going on, and really I think with the feet you have that quote-unquote masterpiece moment. Although if I'm being completely honest, there was really nothing here on Hound that wowed me, like on, say, Ironhide, Bumblebee, or Prowl. So, start the transformation, flip down the side view mirrors, and then come in and fold up the gun here and rotate it around. Now, for those of you who have the package, please note that there is an insert with the instructions. And the first step is incredibly important for you to point out, which I'm going to show you right now. Because if you don't do this step, you run the risk of actually ripping these sides out and breaking the figure. And basically what that is, you have to come in and pop the seat port, the base part of the chair, the seats, up, and that will allow you to flip these sections out. The instructions initially just have you pulling those sections out and don't mention the fact that these seats peg in there. Next, what you can do is flip this whole front section forward, which will unpeg the shoulder cannon from the rear like so, and you can just bring that out. And we're basically done with the shoulder section for right now. Coming to the rear of the figure, what you're going to want to do is pull back a little bit on this rear panel that the spare tire is attached to, and that will separate the legs. You want to give yourself a little space, spread them open, and then go ahead and rotate them down and forward on both sides to get them out of the way. Next, what you want to do is come in and lift up these panels. They are double hinged, so you're going to lift them up like this, and then proceed to rotate out on that second hinge, just like so. So they're straight. And we're done with them for now. We're going to come around to the side here, and one of the neat little bits of the tire is that it actually will split. So really what you want to do is split the tire, fold one section forward, that it will kind of, oh, I'm sorry, you want to fold it inward like that, rotate the tire section, the entire tire up, and then fold down, not up, but down, that other tire. You can then bring this panel down. That will close around. And then on this section here, now if you remember with Masterpiece 44 Optimus Prime, you do have, you had like little half panels that would fold out to form a full panel, and that's what you have here. So we're going to bring that down and out and peg this together, and there you have the leg section coming together just like so. Repeat the action here on the same side, on the opposite side, excuse me. Just pull the tire sections apart. Make sure, I think one section should rotate a little easier than the other. Oh, again, I'm doing it backwards. Silly me. I know some of you are screaming in the comments, you're doing it the wrong way. But here you go, just fold it back, then rotate the tire up, and then bring the other section down like so. Well, you know, at least I'm doing it the wrong way than showing you the right way so you know what to do. And then bring that panel down, fold this panel down and out, and this will peg together. And now we can begin work on the feet. First thing you want to do is basically fold up. Well, before you fold anything up, come back here, fold this headset section around, and then fold the seat down, and then you're going to come underneath, and you're going to have to wiggle that panel out of the way, and you're basically going on this section right here is on a double hinge, so you want to make sure that opens up all the way, and that will allow you to basically give you the room that you need to do the next step, which is you're going to bring in the spare tire. And again, like has been done before, you want to fold that up. That actually folds up fairly easily. Bring it in, and then on the bring up that panel section. Oh, you know what? Make sure this is all. Make sure that seat is flush, and that will bring down. I guess you can say is the toe section. So when that panel is up, now folding in on that one joint, bring it up like so, and then you'll fold back this small green section while bringing down this gunmetal gray part that will peg into the foot. And believe it or not, you have the foot done. Now, that foot is actually much easier to do than this one, because with this one, you have the extra bit of the cannon here that actually just fell off. So we're going to try to do this with the cannon attached. So again, going to start off, fold up that seat, bring it down, open up the panel, make sure you fold out on the double hinge so that it's open all the way. One thing I did neglect to mention is this cannon for the Jeep. That actually pegs in a certain way, and it will only bend and rotate certain ways. So that's kind of a big help for you. Bring that whole panel section up. Next, what you can do is bring up the back panel that had the gas tank, rotate so that when you're looking at it from the side here, the gas tank is facing up. And from your handling and fiddling, you've probably had it's probably loosened up, so you want to give it a little push to tighten it. Next, on the connector hinge, bring the cannon around, and then you're going to do a little wiggle jiggle double rotate here, because you basically are going to want that gray barrel to end up in tucked in, so you're going to have to like angle it as you go and just get it in there. And actually I kind of screwed up, because the last step should have been, you should have ended up with it positioned like so, and then you rotate it down into the groove area. But I had it already bent over. And like I said, the joints are very tight, so it will kind of pop off, but once you have it done and set, there you go. I much rather have tighter joints than looser joints. So again, much like on the other foot, you just want to fold it up on that single hinge, bring it down, and make sure it pegs in. And there you have the feet done. Now, rotating at this point here by the knee, you want to turn the legs inward. Going to flip the figure around, rotate the feet forward, So now those little circular pieces are facing out, and using, again, the double hinge on the ankle, wiggle jiggle down into place, and there you have the lower legs and feet done for Hound. There might be a little gapping in the panels. That's happened to me. It is what it is. So we'll pause and we'll continue the transformation with the torso. Okay, so to continue the transformation with the torso, what we're going to do is bring out this whole center column and flip it forward. This connects the shoulder cannon and head together. So we're going to come in and do that. Just bring the windshield down, bring the head out, just all like so, up and over, so it's out of the way. Zoom out a little. There you go. And then what you can do is push, well, no, I'm sorry. Next, what you want to do, since you now moved that out of the way, is we're going to bring out the arms. So you can just, the first step will be coming around to the front, and the section here where the side view mirrors are attached are on a double hinge. So you're going to wiggle jiggle those out a little to basically get them hinged out. You might have to play around a little here. There we go. And you'll just pop that out. And this is actually a little tricky to do. There is some play in the plastic. Not much. You might have to like press down and to give it the clearance. Press down on that green section to give it the clearance. And then hinge it, double hinge it around so it'll come around. And do it again on this side. Just like so. And then that will allow you to come in underneath and fold all the arms out, just like so. They are on a series of hinges. Now, the big thing is that, again, this is it mentioned only in the supplement to the instructions. You want to rotate these into position until they snap. And by that point, I'm sure by the natural movement of the arms, you'll straighten everything out. But make sure they do snap into place. And have the arms facing forward by the elbow. You can then come around the back here, push down what are the feet rests. There are little nubs there that Spike can peg into. Bring down the steering wheel. Flip in the wheels. Just like so. And then come up to these shoulder sections. And you're going to rotate them around. Fold them down. Rotate them around. These are like these are the seat sections from before. And you're going to just come up and fold these in on themselves to fill in that gap. Now, this part is kind of cool. You got a little bit of a green section here. You want to rotate this. Now, my right, where my thumb just tapped, you want to make sure that is basically leading the way. Because what you're going to, that has the nub that's going to lock these into place. And this will form Hound's little chest section. And then what we can do is proceed to bring everything down. This will sort of peg into place. And believe it or not, we're just about done. Now they tell you to bring the arms down at the end, but just really the idea is you want to keep them out of the way. And to be honest with you, I really don't know what this torso pegs into, but it does peg in. So now what we're going to do is going to come back to this, the section with the head, and you're going to want to extend the shoulder cannon out. Just give yourself some space. Flip this panel down. Flip the windshield up, and then this all rotates. And what this does, you will then be able to lock, sort of lock. The windshield will clip in over that piece. This will come up like that, basically covering over that back section, and you're just about ready to bring the head down. Now, this is something that is not shown in the instructions at all that I do want to point out. A lot of people were concerned about Hound's floating head. Well, if you come in, grab this piece and basically hinge it forward and out and really just go all the way, Hound does have a neck. So with that section done, you can go ahead, bring that down. You can see Hound has a neck and, you know, nice amount of movement and what have you. Make sure that's up all the way. We'll get into more of the head in a moment. And now for the shoulder cannon, you're going to swing these double hinges down. There's a tab there that will peg into that section. And then to transform the shoulder cannon, which is again this confuses me because it was again another special mention on the instructions, but flip this section down, flip the barrel of the missile back, flip this all the way down, that will friction into place, flip out the rear, and then come in the top and flip up the tail fin. All that's left is to come in underneath here. If you haven't straightened out the arms, do so. There are little nubs that will allow you to pull out the fists, just like so. And presto, a changeo, you have a Hound in robot mode. Now, well, I think this is a really cool figure. As I said in the beginning, I didn't have the wow moments that I did with, say, Prowl, the original Bumblebee, or Ironhide. That's not to say that there isn't some cool stuff going on with the figure. For example, you can, in the side panels here, store his Hologram Blaster, which pegs into the hand quite easily, which I will do right now. Just open up the hand a little and just slide it in. And then close things up. And then, of course, you can attach the barrel piece, which is the hologram projection. But a lot of universal joints here. Nice animated color scheme. Really, like a lot of articulation. I remember on the original Hound toy, the arms were very limited, so it's great to have these here, like that. And of course, you know, the head does have some movement, and you do have a lot going on with the feet there. You can swivel and all that stuff. So, yeah, overall, as long as you take your time and you do it a couple times, the transformation for Hound isn't that bad. Now, one thing I do want to mention that's shown in the instructions, but I don't get, is there's an alternate configuration for the shoulder cannon, where you just basically roll it out, bring it back, bring it around on this side. Actually, I'm trying to figure out what it is. It's, you basically bring it around so it's behind his head like that, and I don't get that. Like, I don't get it at all. Here we go. That's like, you know, it's like you make the square in that way. It's like, I guess it's to have him look in that direction. I just don't get it. I mean, I'm going to leave it this way because that just makes sense. Speaking of sense is why we're here. Looking at the head, if you come in and flip this panel all the way up, that gives you access to remove the face plates, which just hinge in very nicely, just like so. And if you really can get in there, which I think you can bring the top panel back a little more. Ah, yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. I had to get my thumb in there. But you can bring out... Ooh, you can bring out the... I'm blocking your vision so I can close the panel And there is the face mask for that Hound used again in that one scene in the cartoon, where in one episode when he had to rescue Spike from being underwater. It is kind of interesting to see how much there is here with in terms of playing to certain key episodes. I'm going to remove the gun for a second. There is one more gimmick I just do want to show. And if you go ahead and bring his torso all the way forward, on the back here, you will see a little notch. And if you flip that out, that's the hook to hang the key off of. I'd like to come forward and officially say that I am declaring the key a pre-lost item. It's low lights bullet. Just because you can make it doesn't mean you should. But I got to admit that they did bring, I guess they were looking to put a lot in Hound, for all his appearances. But that's about all I have to say here. So we'll pause and we'll come back with my final thoughts. And that, in a nutshell, was Hound. One thing I forgot to mention that I'm not sure was entirely clear doing the review is in terms of like pulling the hands out of the arms, getting the visor down. Takara was kind enough to mold in nubs and grooves that you can get your fingers in. Something that's often missing even on mainline generation style figures. That really helps with the transformation. Now, as I mentioned, while there is that masterpiece moment when transforming the feet and how they come together, I wasn't overly wowed by Hound like I was by, say, Prowl, version 1 Bumblebee, and especially Ironhide. That's not to... Now, what's interesting about that is, whereas Hound was designed with an animation aesthetic in mind, those figures I felt, I got that, big tingling feeling that once I was done, like these had just walked out of the original cartoon. Maybe it's age, maybe it's just the design choices or what have you. That's not to say Hound is a bad figure. Now, we got to have a serious discussion. That serious discussion is the issues of breakage. Unfortunately, on the internet, the negativity gets reported more than the positivity. So you've probably heard more about the breakages than you have about the positives of Hound. All I can say is, if that's going to concern you, then maybe buying this figure isn't the best idea. It is over $100, even if you get it from a place like Amazon Japan. And a note about Amazon Japan: God forbid your figure does come broken or is damaged right after you get it, it is going to cost you somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 to ship it back, even though they will reimburse you. The problem is, like myself, for example, I don't have that kind of money to fork over up front. So maybe it might be better getting the figure from a domestic retailer who can work with you then, and in terms of shipping, even though you'll end up paying a little bit higher of a price. And again, the higher prices of masterpieces, that is the nature of the beast. That is what's happening. So a lot of times you have to make the decision whether or not it's worth it. In my opinion, Hound is a great figure, but I don't know if it's completely worth the $120 that I paid. I think if it was $100 flat with shipping, I would feel a lot better recommending the figure to you. But again, your mileage may vary. Now, of course, there's also the complaint about this animation design versus a more toy aesthetic. And I think nowadays we live in the plus era, where I'm sure there will be a Masterpiece 47 Plus that will have a darker toy green, maybe some different accessories and deco changes and what have you. So then there is some options for you to wait for. Maybe they'll fix some of the, I don't want to say QC, but tolerance issues that could lead to breakage. Again, that's all up to you and what you want to do. If you're a fan of Hound, this is the best version of Hound on the market. Blows any of the third-party figures out of the water. And remember, supporting first party helps keep the brand alive, helps keep the prices down. So, that concludes this episode of Masterpiece Theater. I do thank you for watching. If you are so inclined, please support my Patreon. There will be a card up in the corner, as well as a link in the description. Other than that, continue enjoying the videos on my channel. Happy New Year if this is the first time you're watching me this year. And I hope to have many more Masterpiece Theaters for you throughout the year, and many more reviews to come. Have a good day.